Hello. The news from the last few days has stirred up a lot of emotions. Shock, fear, anger, outrage, and many more. Whether we look at the unrest in the United Kingdom, Bangladesh, or the Middle East, we see a similar pattern. Not only do individuals and governments react violently against others, but we do it, because we feel injustices. We see people we don't understand and we fear, and we identify people as being blameworthy. And our preference is for safety, security, stability, and a sense that we are not only doing all right, but that we're on the side of right. Two things have particularly struck me as I've been reading the Bible over the last few days, and both relate to our attitudes towards God, others, and ourselves. In Matthew's Gospel, we read, "When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he'll separate the people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from his goats. He'll put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, 'Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me.' Then the righteous will answer him, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go and visit you?' The king will reply, 'Truly, I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me.'" The Lectio 365 prayer guide offered this challenge around these verses. We often seek friends in high places, but Jesus commands us to seek friends in low places. And that set me thinking, why was Jesus so concerned for these people, the hungry, the thirsty, those needing clothed and housed, those who are sick or in prison? And of course, part of the reason is that we are all these people. If Jesus hadn't come for the people in low places, he wouldn't have come for you and me. God's whole mission from the time that Adam and Eve were sent out of the Garden of Eden was to rescue those in low places. And the second thing that struck me was how blind we often are to our own lowness. We like to think that we're all right and that we're on the side of right. I was also reading from the prophecies of Haggai in the last few days, and one sentence really stood out to me as I was also reading complaints from Christian leaders and others about the world in which we live. Haggai says, "This is what the Lord Almighty says. Give careful thought to your ways. You expected much, but see, it turned out to be little." The message that I seem to be hearing from some Christians is, why is this all happening? Why is the world like it is? We deserve so much more. And implicit in this was that the fault lay at someone else's door. But God's response seems to be, don't look at others and blame them, immigrants, far-right extremists, louts, Hamas, Israel, whoever. Instead, give careful thoughts to your ways. The issue is not who is right or wrong in all of the trouble spots we see across our world, close to home, further afield. The truth is, there are many sides to each story and many facets to every situation. But the true issue is what our response tells us about ourselves and our relationship to God. Are we like those that Haggai was speaking to, who expected much, but it turned out to be little? Are we like those that James talks about in his letter? He says, don't merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in a mirror and after looking at himself goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like. Or instead of that, are we going to be the sort of disciples that Jesus is seeking? Those who love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbour as yourself. These sorts of people allow their relationship with God to change their character, their faith, their thinking, and their actions. And they're able to reflect on who they have been, who they are, and who they will become without focusing blame on others. Good night.